Kim, can you tell us about your show?
Our show airs on Sunday at 10:30 on E! And it's called Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
The Kardashians have been in our lives for 15 years. Did you hear me? 15 years. A decade and a half that I can't get back. Honestly, I'm not even asking for it back because it's been fun watching the evolution of this family for almost half my entire life. This is a look at the first and last episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Thank you for tuning into Movies You've Seen, where we cover all things movies, TV, and music. I'm your host, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to me. I mean, like, seriously. The emergence of such an unfiltered, loose cannon, juicy couture Von Dutch wearing family was a sign of the times. The early 2000s, man. You really had to be there to truly witness it in all of its trashiness.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
The anorexic bulimic look was all the rage. The first ever iPhone came out and only rich people had it. SpongeBob was undefeated. Britney went bald. MySpace was on its way out. And through all the low-cut jeans and seashell necklaces, we were met with the acquaintance of Kim Kardashian.
Welcome to my family. I'm Kim Kardashian.
The princess is in the building.
She was the girlfriend of R&B singer, actor, now entrepreneur, Ray J. If you were Kim in 2006, the world has yet to know you, but you would do any and everything to change that. So you made it a mission to basically become the apprentice of the it girl, socialite, and heiress to the Hilton hotel fortune, Paris Hilton.
That's hot.
In 2004, Paris's sex tape was leaked and became a defining moment in pop culture. If pop culture is ever jammed into its own history book, this will get its own chapter because just 3 years later, Kim and Ray J's sex tape leaks, setting off an entire shift in Hollywood as we knew it. Well, it didn't really leak now, did it? More on that later. Who knew that the consequences would come with all the bells and whistles? Brand deals, skyrocketing sales, exclusive invitations, and most importantly, a reality TV show. Keeping Up with the Kardashians was and is still the Kardashian lifeline. Without the show, America would be left with other muses responsible for shaping an entire decade to come. We wouldn't know the infamous middle part,
The Valley Girl baby voice.
the praising of curvaceous body types, puckered lips, neutral colors, and slicked back buns. The Kardashians are the beauty standard that mainstream media wants to acknowledge, when in fact, nothing they do is new or original. But it is a true wonder though. What if we never met the Kardashians? That's another video for another day. It's a Sunday night, October 14, 2007 to be exact. E! has been advertising its newest show for weeks now. The girl who had a sex tape with Ray J is coming to your living rooms and getting up close and personal, as if the sex tape wasn't already that. This time we get to see where she comes from. There's talk of her being the daughter of the lawyer who helped get O.J. Simpson acquitted of murdering his ex-wife. Another daunting, devastating moment in pop culture. Tonight's the season 1 premiere, and the only other programming on is King of the Hill or America's Funniest Home Videos. So you're tuning in, right? Midway through the pilot episode, you realize this family is just the Brady Bunch on speed. Marcia is more narcissistic than her reflection. Jan has carried her disdain for pretty people into adulthood. Carol is more of the patriarch than Mike Brady himself, and the others are just as out of control. It shouldn't be surprising being that the Osbournes were an even more horrendous predecessor, but I'll never get over the 10-year-old on a pole thing. The first scene, the first time we ever see an interaction in this family, is when Chris is body shaming Kim for having a little junk in the trunk.
I think she has a little junk in the trunk.
Like I said, being ultra skinny was the trend during this time. This was the era of,
does this make my butt look big?
ironically, Kim's behind was capturing mainstream media's attention for all the right reasons. Before her, Beyonce was more of the poster child for curvaceous body types, but then again, as a black woman, it wasn't atypical like it was for Kim, a white Armenian woman. The introductions roll in, and immediately this is where you get to pick who you identify with the most. Everyone had a favorite, and it was usually Chloe or Courtney because of their raw, unapologetic personalities, and then Kim would be the one you loved to hate or secretly wanted to be. The third born of the clan, Chloe, classified herself as a bitch. Her hazel eyes glaring beneath her low brow bones, coupled with her tall stature, made her even more intimidating, yet lovable. She was obviously the different looking sister.
One of these things is not like the other.
And everybody noticed immediately. Later in the series, Chloe would talk about the guys that would date her just to get to Kim, the constant comparisons, and being dubbed the ugly sister. She even spent a whole episode questioning her true paternity. Well, to be completely accurate, off-screen, Chloe was worried about her paternity, but on-screen, Chris was the one more so trying to convince the world that she didn't cheat on Robert Sr. And I have to add, I personally never thought Chloe was the ugly sister or the fat sister. I actually thought she was the most adorable one when she was a child, and then she grew up to be a beautiful young lady. So yeah, media sucks for that one. And so does the rest of the world for making her feel like she had to change her whole entire face and body to fit in. All of these things and more had hardened Chloe's heart, and that destroyed her self-esteem. Audiences would sympathize with her black sheep identity the most, even if media trashed her name. The oldest Kardashian, Kourtney, was loved for her straight up no chaser realness.
I really think you should tighten your bikini top because your look really saggy.
She said everything in a monotone and with a smile. She and her boyfriend Scott were inseparable and would soon be synonymous with one another to the public. Kim is the headliner of the show, the self-titled princess, and probably the most unrelatable, but ultimately the show is about her, so we have no choice but to watch Kim on her conquests in everyday life. Kris introduces herself as the mom and Kim's manager, right before she claims she knows what's best for her kids and her husband.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Honestly, she spends the entire series vicariously living through Kim while treating the other kids like they're the help. Bruce Jenner makes his debut after some years of falling into obscurity after his athletic career faded. This is probably the most recognition we would ever see him get. He's constantly outvoted, outwitted, disrespected, and disregarded by the entire family, and his authority means nothing to them essentially. They give higher regard to the family dog than they do Bruce. The family is sitting around having quality time, discussing normal family things. Kim has been invited to the Tyra show to discuss her infamous sex tape with Ray J. You know, the reason why the show even became a thing. Kim is super excited to be invited onto the show, but she's nervous because she's gonna have to address the sex tape. What did she think this was gonna be about? Lipstick and matching eyeshadows? Kim! Come on. She said that her and her boyfriend of 3 years never thought this tape was gonna get out, and it was their special private time together. Boy, this didn't age well. Scott and Kourtney are in a young, rambunctious relationship where they playfully insult each other, but with a smile at least. All the signs were there, the red flags were vibrant. Kris plays the worried mother act and gets these bad vibes from Scott. She suspects he's cheating on her firstborn child, Kourtney. In the midst of this, because you know you have to have at least 2 to 3 storylines at once, Kris and Bruce are celebrating their 16-year anniversary, and they got the works. They have valet for all the Range Rovers. You remember Range Rovers, right? The catering, the bartender, they even got a DJ. Bruce makes a speech to his friends and family with Kris by his side. He's proud of the 16 years they've had together and hopes for another 16 years. That didn't age well either. Oh, and there goes Rob, the only other boy in the Kardashian clan. FYI, this is the happiest and most normal we would ever see him. Kendall and Kylie are energetic, hyperactive children with inappropriate influences. We know this because Kylie was showing the world her advanced stripper moves before she and her sister got behind the bar to make alcoholic drinks. Chris gives them a mild scolding as if this isn't normal behavior for them. Chris is also trying to talk Scott out of being with Courtney because she's milking the hell out of this concerned parent act for the cameras. Her own daughters call her out for inserting herself into the situation. Kim is panicking, trying to find an outfit to wear onto Tyra. They discuss what they'll be saying during the interview, anticipating the nerve-wracking questions about the sex tape. She gets through it flawlessly and treats herself to a shopping trip with Brandy's money. Sorry. Just kidding. But on a serious note, look at how clear the streets were. Nobody gave a flying french fry about who she was, and paparazzi wouldn't waste a single flick on her. When she gets home and discusses her Tyra interview, Kim and her mom lock eyes as Kim recalls the sex tape being a negative experience that she would like to replace with positive things. Knowing what we know now, they're just slime balls. It's 2021 and the final episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians is airing in 2 parts, with the final part premiering on June 20th. The show has drastically matured and becomes a shell of its former self. Ratings have dropped and audiences are bored with the watered-down drama. Plus, the permanent, foggy Instagram filter that blurs out their impurities is highly annoying. Kris Jenner claims that the family has decided to round the show off at 20 seasons before calling it quits. To acknowledge the journey, Khloe decides to make a time capsule of the memories that the family can dig up in another decade or so. Because they will still be around. I mean, come on. They're raising an entire generation to take their places. If you were in a coma for a decade and a half, you may not fully recognize the people before you. So I will reintroduce you. You remember Khloe, the fan favorite? She's not exactly the favorite anymore. These days, Khloe is known for her telenovela, soap opera relationship with serial cheating baby father Tristan Thompson. Sure, she has some side businesses like Good American and Good American, but her entire storyline has been about this man since season 13.
Like, I know I'm strong enough to do that. It just sucks. It has to be so public.
She not only looks different, but she acts different. Her boisterous, unmerciful attitude has faded away. She's now poised with puckered lips like she's doing face yoga, and she's starting to talk and act like Kim. Courtney has fallen out of favor with her sisters and is now constantly at battle with Kim and Khloe. She is the new black sheep and she just wants to be the mom and focus on her lifestyle brand Poosh. Kim and Khloe don't like there's so many K's. Kim and Khloe don't like Courtney's lack of effort and unwillingness to film for the show. They compare her work ethic to theirs and claim it to be unbalanced. I mean, I could understand Kim's frustration because she probably is the hardest worker of all of them. Don't come for me.
I said what I said.
I said what I said. But Khloe is always available. She's always open to film because she goes to the opening of an envelope. Khloe acts like she's such a hard worker because she hides behind Good American, but she actually has nothing better to do except star in migraine commercials. So her willingness to film is because she's bored, not because she works hard. Courtney and Scott are no longer together. Can't say I didn't see that one coming. The first moment I saw Scott, I knew. It's no more playful smiling and passive aggressive insults. It's straight incompatibility at this point, but it's a surprise they've made it this far. Honestly, it's only because the kids is what's kept them bound to one another, and kids will do that, yeah? Scott's decline in the series took him to some really dark places that we all got to witness. He lost his parents, which were kind of his only family, and he desperately depends on the Kardashians to fill that void. So much so that he's holding on to Courtney as if she were his lifeline. Unfortunately, he wasn't the best man to her in all of the 14 years that we had witnessed, and eventually it drove the biggest wedge between them. I'll say this event was probably the hardest and the most sorry I felt watching this whole series, because Scott turned out to be a pretty okay dude, and it just sucks that he wasn't able to get it together for his family. Kim is still the headliner because back then we were watching her everyday life, and we still are today. Nothing has changed. Kim is still getting invited to speak on shows, but shows of a much higher caliber than Tyra. She's more famous than Tyra at this point. Kim doesn't get dressed out of a suitcase anymore. She has an entire team to dress her. No longer does she worry about the questions being asked in an interview, as she controls what is being asked in said interview. She is in the middle of her third divorce, however, from her uber famous rapper, designer, entrepreneur husband, Kanye West. They share 4 children, or is it 5? They got hella kids, and they live in a French vanilla deserted museum they call a home. In fact, all the Kardashians live in homes 6 times bigger than their first family home. Pretty crazy how far the sex tape brought them, yeah? Even Paris didn't have this much to show for hers, right? But see, that's the difference between purposefully leaking your own tape and someone else leaking it without your consent. Kim Kardashian ran with the narrative that Ray J leaked their tape to the masses, and from there she had no choice but to live with all the riches and fame it brought her. This year, in 2022, Ray J confirmed what we all suspected over the years, that the tape was sold to a distribution company. And what I suspected for years, that her mom actually watched the tape. I've always suspected that her whole family saw the tape. And the way they get down, some of them probably saw it more than once.
You guys, why don't we just have a threesome and then like have our own, what could our name be?
Let's see,
Chloe. Cloga.
Cloga? Should we just date and then you should date someone else? Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into it, but they've made some uncomfortable, incestuous innuendos throughout the years and displayed some inappropriate behavior. So it's just so funny how much context there is between Kim and her mom in the scene now. Look at them, they're full of it. It's the secret that was never supposed to get out because it was supposed to be sealed with an ironclad NDA. The episode is commencing with Kim looking like a clone of her gorgeous daughter, Chicago. She's updating the audience on her accomplishments, as usual. She's now studying to become a lawyer, following in her late father's footsteps. They all gather to talk about the ending of the show and decide to do a final family trip, which is big because trips were a huge part of the show. Kris is still intruding on her kids' lives and trying to fit in with them at the same time, but I will say I do like how appropriately she dresses. At the very least, Kris does dress for her age group. She's nagging Kourtney about Scott, hoping to keep them together. Ironically, she was trying to get him out of the family about, 14 years ago in the first episode, and now she's trying her damnedest to do the exact opposite. Complete 180. At her Palm Springs house, because that's just one of many when you have to classify your homes by location, she's kicking back with her new mans, still vicariously living through Kim. See, Kris has replaced Bruce Jenner with an off-brand Kanye West. Did anybody not realize this? I'd be weirded out if my mom started dating a guy that looked just like my husband. Her new man's name is Corey, and he's been with us for 6 years at this point, living his best freeloading life as a kept man. Man has to work for nothing ever again. Oh yeah, and Kim is still Kris's favorite, but she temporarily favors the other children if they rake in more money than Kim that month, so.
Who do you think Kris's favorite child was 10 years ago, and who do you think is her favorite child now?
Kimberly 10 years ago, Kylie now.
Really?
Yeah.
And these are facts, not what we think.
We're not guessing.
It's a running joke at this point. Khloe and Tristan third trimester Thompson are there as well. Tristan is a 6'9" Canadian Jamaican with the voice of an insurance rep. Definitely an anomaly, this one. He poses as a good guy, but his eyes tell you everything you need to know. Evil. I'm just kidding. And even though he's out of the picture, you're probably wondering where Bruce is. Bruce identifies as a woman now. He goes by she, her pronouns and prefers to be called Caitlyn with a C. The shade. And all this time, I thought Bruce was judging the girls for their fashion choices while he actually just thought they looked fabulous. Caitlyn left the show in 2015 and set ablaze her own path with this newfound lifestyle. As of recent, her ties with the Kardashian family, minus her biological daughters Kendall and Kylie, have been kind of severed. Let's just say it was a messy few years. Speaking of Kendall and Kylie, Kendall is now a supermodel. Arguably. Might want to hold the super for now. She can't go 5 minutes without talking about her anxiety. And I'm not being insensitive, but it's like, Kylie is a business owner with a skincare, makeup, and baby line and is supposedly a billionaire. But if you actually read the article, you'd know that wasn't even true to begin with. But don't get me wrong, she's still making... They all hop on a PJ. Like, they're so rich and famous, they just hop on a private jet to go to Tahoe. I bet they never anticipated a sex tape taking them this far. They really do owe Ray J everything. They get to the Tahoe Verbo and they're impressed with the property for all of 5 minutes because Kim goes into emergency meltdown when she sees a plate of cookies on the counter. She gained 15 pounds during lockdown and decided to make everyone else suffer by taking the cookies away as if she didn't have 4 children and 300 nieces and nephews that would want one.
Anything with sprinkles are basically my favorite, and I eat these all day long.
Bruh.
Khloe and Kris are dealing with the halt of their homes being built. Apparently, their contractor stole their deeds. These girls have some of the best lawyers in the country. So what special brand of Coca-Cola is you sipping, my guy? These will be the last people you'd ever want to steal from is what I'm really trying to say. Khloe and Kris are building their homes directly next to one another. And I think it's cute and impressive being that they've had what I would call a turbulent relationship over the years. I mean, a few of the older siblings have had resentment against Kris due to some of the things that happened in their childhood and her marriage to their biological dad. It was evident in the way that they would talk to her. They'd call her by her first name, talk to her like she was a peer, curse at her, be tonguing their boyfriends down in front of her. All kinds of disrespect, in my opinion. There hasn't been much respect or regard for Kris over the years, not saying that she didn't cause any of that, but by the time she seemed to want to build relationships with her children, it was a little too late for some of them. So Khloe now deciding to live next to her mother, I think that says a lot about her growth and how she's likely forgiven Kris for the past. Also, Khloe has her daughter True to think about. It would be in her best interest to make sure that Kris has a functional relationship with her granddaughter for True's own sake. They take all the kids to the ice skate park, which they have to rent out because they're way too famous to be in public with other people. And I'm not being sarcastic. These people will literally sneeze and the paparazzi will sell their photo to the highest bidder. By the series finale, the family buries the time capsule, and it's when I remember that Rob isn't there. Rob slowly faded from the show and the public over the years and became extremely overweight in the process. I mean, he wasn't that overweight. Like, it was like he had a dad bod because he ended up having a baby. It wasn't even that bad. His weight was a response to his depression and the consequences of being a part of such a family that's so famous and so public. Like I said, episode 1 was the happiest we would ever see Rob, and hopefully he makes a comeback in the near future. I actually kind of like Rob a lot. Is that possible to kind of like a lot? The family plans to dig up and open the capsule in 15 to 20 years. Oof. Let's see where we all are then. Hopefully everyone is still alive because we don't wish death on anyone over here. Hopefully Kris is still alive and kicking. I want the family to continue to grow and mature, and while I do love the first season version of them the most, it's not ideal to stay stagnant. We all have to grow up. While I'm not too fond of the things they've done and said over the years, I have enjoyed watching the Kardashians because reality TV is my favorite kind of TV, and it's fun to judge people's horrible choices. And it's also fun to watch them in their success. I like watching people in their everyday lives. It's something that you can, relate to and kind of realize, hey, my life isn't that bad, or hey, they're going through the same things that I'm going through, or it's just another way to I don't know what I'm saying, y'all. I just like reality TV. How about that? I don't, however, want to see the same thing for another 15 to 20 years. So I hope the children are able to make a different lane for themselves and not become carbon copies of their parents. Here's what I want for them and what I see so far. I think Mason is going to turn into the hipster loner artist that lives in Europe part-time. Penelope will definitely be the party girl. Rain is going to be a rebel. Dream will be a model of some sort. Stormy will be the wholesome, fashionable socialite. True will be the wingman to all the cousins because she's the one you can do anything with. North is going to be the outspoken Twitter activist like her father. If Twitter's even around by then. I mean, the way Elon Musk is moving, I don't know. The most rebellious of the group, though, she will be. Saint will be the eccentric one. I think Chicago is going to follow closer in Kim's steps in terms of fame. She's going to be super duper pretty. Psalm is going to be doing his own thing, and the other babies are too young to know, but I'm sure they're all going to be just fine. So if you didn't know, the Kardashians did not actually go away because they came back with a new series called The Kardashians on the streaming platform Hulu. The girls have a little bit more creative control this time around, so I guess that's what makes it a little bit different from Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but there's not much of a difference. We're still following them in their everyday lives. So here is kind of where the family is. Kourtney is in a loving marriage with Travis Barker. He is a drummer from Blink-182, very accomplished, very successful. Don't waste your time on me. Yeah, that guy, that song. Khloe is still dealing with the aftermath of the antics that Tristan is constantly pulling. He's still cheating on her. He had a baby outside of their relationship, and now he's having a baby with her. Yeah, it's a whole mess. Chris got hip replacement surgery. Kendall is embarking on a new journey, which is a side hustle at the moment, and that's flipping and selling homes. Kylie had another baby, and she's like never there. And if you haven't caught on yet, this is still about Kim. This whole show is still about Kim in some way or another, and this is about her everyday life featuring her family. Let's just call it what it is. What do you think of the Kardashians? Do you like the earlier seasons better, or do you appreciate the later seasons? Also, where do you think the family will be when it's time to open the capsule in 15 to 20 years? You guys, please don't take any of this information personally. This video was strictly for entertainment purposes. I know there's a lot of die-hard Kardashian fans out there, and yeah, I'm sure I probably pissed you off, and no, it's not gonna keep me up tonight, but please just try to be level-headed when you make these comments and realize these people don't know you, they don't know you exist, they don't really care about you, so don't go too hard for them, okay? Go hard for yourself instead. Thank you all so much for your support. I've hit over 1K subscribers, so here's my little dance. And I seriously thank you all, but without God's grace, this wouldn't have been possible. So continue to thumbs it up, comment, and subscribe. Feed the machine, which is me. I only eat likes, comments, and subscriptions. Ciao for now.